Rome, 897. A pope is placed on a throne in the Lateran Basilica. He is dressed in full papal robes. Clergy gather around him. Charges are read aloud. A deacon is appointed to answer in his defense. There is only one administrative complication. The accused pope has been dead for months. This was the Cadaver Synod, the moment medieval Rome decided that ordinary political revenge was simply not theatrical enough. The dead man was Pope Formosus. Formosus had died in April 896 after a difficult papacy spent in the usual medieval activity of trying not to be controlled by whichever armed noble family had arrived in Rome that week. And Rome at the time had several of those. Italy was not a neat country with one government. It was a collection of kingdoms, cities, bishops, aristocrats, armies, and people with very strong opinions about who should wear the expensive hat. The papacy was not just a religious office. It was political power. Whoever influenced the Pope could gain legitimacy, land, allies, titles, and possibly a crown. So naturally, everyone behaved normally. Formosus became Pope in 891. He had already been Bishop of Porto near Rome. He also had enemies, which in 9th century Roman politics was less a personal failing than a job requirement. The main conflict involved the powerful family of Spoleto and their rivals. Formosus did not like the influence of the Spoletan rulers over Rome, so he invited Arnulf of Carinthia, a German king, into Italy to challenge them. Arnulf entered Rome. Formosus crowned him emperor. This was a strong political move. It was also the kind of move that creates enemies who remember where you are buried. Formosus died in 896. For a brief moment, that should have simplified matters. It did not. After 2 extremely short papacies, Stephen VI became pope. He was backed by the political faction hostile to Formosus, and Stephen had a problem. Formosus had been dead for months. He could not be arrested, he could not be exiled, he could not be made to apologize in a public letter, but apparently he could still be tried. So Stephen ordered Formosus's body exhumed. The corpse was brought into the Lateran Basilica, placed on a throne, dressed in papal vestments, and put before a synod of clergy. A deacon was assigned to answer for the dead pope. Imagine being that deacon. You arrive at work expecting prayers, paperwork, perhaps an argument about church property. Instead, your client is a corpse in a chair. The charges were political, but presented as legal and religious ones. Formosus was accused of violating church rules by leaving the bishopric of Porto and becoming Bishop of Rome. He was accused of breaking earlier oaths. He was accused of ambition, which again was a remarkable accusation to make during a trial organized by digging up a former pope and interrogating him in public. The verdict was predictable. Formosus was found guilty. His papacy was declared invalid, and this was not merely an insult to a dead man. If Formosus hadn't been a legitimate pope, then his decisions could be challenged. His appointments could be challenged. The clergy he had ordained could be challenged. A political attack on one corpse suddenly threatened the status of living bishops, priests, and officials across Rome. This was not madness replacing politics. This was politics using madness as a filing system. The punishment continued. Formosus was stripped of his papal robes. Medieval accounts report that fingers from his right hand, the hand used for blessings, were cut off. His body was buried again, then later thrown into the Tiber. The message was clear. Formosus was not simply dead. He was being officially erased. Unfortunately for Stephen, Rome did not find the spectacle as reassuring as he had hoped. The trial horrified people. It also created chaos over every ordination and decision connected to Formosus. Soon, public anger turned against Stephen VI. Within the same year, he was deposed, imprisoned, and strangled. And so the pope who put a corpse on trial was himself removed from office a few months later. Rome had reviewed the case. The living defendant had performed worse. Later popes reversed the Cadaver Synod. Formosus was rehabilitated and reburied with papal honours. The decisions against him were annulled. A later council even prohibited the trial of corpses, which feels like a rule that should have existed before anyone needed to write it down. But that is the real lesson of the Cadaver Synod. It was not just a bizarre medieval story about people being irrational. It was a story about power. Formosus was dead, but his political allies, appointments, and decisions were still alive. His enemies could not fight him directly, so they tried to destroy the authority he had left behind. They put a corpse on trial because the corpse was still politically inconvenient. And for one short, terrible moment in 897, the most powerful institution in Western Christianity looked at a dead pope in a chair and decided the paperwork could proceed. The dead pope lost the trial, but Stephen VI lost Rome.